Hey everyone, thank you for watching. Today's video I'm really excited to do because it's going to be all about makeup brushes, but it's not going to be just like a favorite brush video. I am going to be doing the if I could only keep one brush in each category. So I saw my friend Mel Thompson do this one recently, so of course I'll have her video linked down below. She said the idea came from a subscriber and I thought it was a really fun idea, and I love makeup brushes, so I decided I wanted to do this one too. I have done a video kind of similar to this on the if I can only keep one in my makeup collection. That was a tag started by Kelly Gooch, I believe. So I will have both of our videos linked down below if you want to see another video in the same kind of style here. But if you want to see the one brush that I would keep for each different category, I'm gonna go ahead and jump into it. Alrighty, so Mel did also include sponges in her video, and I wanted to include sponges in mine because I do use a makeup sponge more than I use brushes for both foundation and also concealer and also setting powder. I primarily use a sponge. I just think that they're really easy to use. You know, I'm getting 3 uses out of one product, which I think is great. And then even if you're using cream products, a lot of times I will use a sponge with those also. So I just think sponges are awesome. I actually have 4 contenders for my makeup sponges, but I only have 3 to show you because unfortunately my dog Aries got into one of my sponges and I was very, very upset. But in my hands I have the one from L'Oreal, which is the pink one. I also have Morphe, which is red, and these two are extremely similar to one another. I also have the Sonia Kashuk marble sponge that I purchased from Target, and then the other sponge that I've just been loving on lately is from Ofra, and this is the Perfecting Puff. I have been using that one so much, and I unfortunately left it out the other day after I used it doing my makeup and my dog got it. I know that I have to hide my sponges. I have to put them up, especially right after using them. That's when Aries seems to be the most attracted to my sponges. So unfortunately she got a hold of that one and I was super upset about it. But for these 4 sponges, I really do enjoy them all, and I think that out of this entire video, the makeup sponge category was honestly the hardest one for me to choose my favorite with, to be serious. I really had a tough time. So I will say that for these 3, I have repurchased all of these, and I am planning on purchasing another one from Ofra because my dog just got into it and destroyed it, and I really do want that one back. I did just recently mention that one in a Makeup Monthly video, so I do want to repurchase the one from Ofra as well. But if I'm thinking about which one do I want to keep out of the 4 of these, I think the one that I'm going to choose is the one from L'Oreal. I think that I've repurchased the L'Oreal one the most. There's also a lot of times when purchasing from Ulta, there's like a buy one get one free, buy one get one half off when it comes to L'Oreal, and I find myself restocking on this one quite a bit because I just kind of don't want to not have it in my collection, if that makes sense. So I think it's gonna be this one here from L'Oreal. Like I said, the one from Morphe is super similar. I think the one from Morphe is just a little bit more on the firm side, so that also gets a little bit more points for the L'Oreal. The Sonia Kashuk I really do enjoy, but you can tell that it gets really big, and sometimes it's just like a little too big for me. Like I'll find myself kind of trying to push it into a smaller shape to blend it out. But I've also realized that I've been traveling with this one quite a bit, so Sonia Kashuk was also really close in the running. And like I said, the Ofra Perfecting Puff is kind of a newer favorite of mine, but I really like the consistency of the sponge. It's nice and soft, kind of reminds me a bit of the Flower Beauty sponge if you've tried that one, but I just think that it's beautiful. It has a similar shape to the L'Oreal and also the Morphe. That one is really good too, but I think I'm gonna say if I can only choose to keep one, I'm gonna go with the L'Oreal. Alrighty, so I do have 2 different foundation brushes to talk about. Like I said, I do generally use the sponges for my foundation, but sometimes there are certain foundations that I like to use a foundation brush for. Like today, I use the Dior Backstage Face and Body. It's a little bit more on the lighter coverage side. It's a little bit more liquidy, and a lot of times with that, I do prefer to use a brush. I feel like I can kind of build the coverage a little bit easier. Sometimes the sponge can kind of shear out a little bit, and also just something with like the liquidy formulas, I just tend to use my brushes. So the 2 that I have to talk about, this one here is from Moda Brushes. This is the Complexion brush in the Moda Metallics line, and then this other one here is from Real Techniques. This is the 200 Expert Face Brush. I picked this one up in a set from Real Techniques, and I really instantly really liked this brush. If you can see, the 2 are really similar to one another. So I mean, I had the Moda one first, but when I purchased the Real Techniques, I was like, this is super close to the Moda and I really like it. I think if I only have to pick one though, if I could only choose one, it is going to go to the Moda Metallics brush. I just feel like I just am drawn to this brush so much more. I do feel like it's a little bit more dense, and for whatever reason, I feel like that really helps me kind of easily blend out the foundation. It's just a little bit on the bigger side too, so again, it's a little bit quicker to apply the foundation, but I used to be into like really big foundation brushes, like I'm thinking like the Sigma F80, like kabuki style brushes, and I found myself being more drawn to these just kind of like thinner brushes as of lately for foundation. So it was just really interesting when I was looking at all my brushes and I chose out these two, because this is just kind of more my style when it comes to foundation. But the Moda brush's Complexion brush is going to win this battle. I will say I am an affiliate with Moda brushes. My discount code is just Samantha if you want some money off your order. I have a few different affiliate codes that I'll mention throughout the video, but I will also have them all in the description box in case there's any brushes that you're interested in checking out. But foundation brush goes to Moda. Again, concealer is another one that I use for a sponge quite a bit, but I do have two concealer brushes to chat about here. One is from Sephora. This is the 57 Pro Airbrush Concealer Brush, and another one is from Real Techniques. This again is in the set that came with that foundation brush. This one here is the Deluxe Crease Brush. I really do enjoy both of these for concealer. They're, you know, pretty similar to one another as well, but this one really wasn't a hard choice for me. It's the Sephora 57 that's going to win out. I have been using this brush for years. I have recommended it so often on my channel. It is a little bit pricier. The Sephora brushes are a bit more expensive, but I've been quite impressed with the brushes that I've tried, and this one just hands down is my favorite concealer brush. Like in so many of my favorite brushes videos, this one is always recommended, and I've had it for years. I have cleaned it over and over and over again, and it has held up so well. It's like shocking to me. I sometimes have thought, like when the VIB sale comes around, like, oh, I should purchase another one of the 57 brushes, but I'm like, why? Like, this is in great condition. It's in great shape. There's really no reason for me to get another one. I could see if I use this on an absolute daily basis, like I do some eyeshadow brushes, I like to have multiples of the same brush, but because I do use a sponge so often, I really don't feel that need to. But definitely, like, if one of my friends stole this from me, which would be so incredibly rude, but if someone like borrowed this and forgot to return it, I would go out and purchase this immediately. So between the Sephora and the Real Techniques, this round goes to Sephora. We just moved to a new city, and I feel like someone is always mowing their lawn during the hours that I film. It's like an everyday thing. And for a while I was trying to wait, but then I realized that like it never stops. Someone is always mowing their grass on this neighborhood, and I'm like, could we not be such a go-getter? Rude. Moving on, so I wanted to talk about brushes for setting powders. Again, I use the sponge quite a bit for this, but I do also sometimes like to use a brush for this, sometimes with loose powders, but also for like a lot of times for pressed powders, I do like to use brushes. So the brushes that I have here, this one is from Stilazzi. This is the Large Fluff, the L224, and then this one here is from Real Techniques. Again, came in that set. This is the setting brush. So these two are not the most similar, like they have the same kind of like concept to them, but you can see the Real Techniques is just a little bit bigger. The Stilazzi is a lot more thinner. The winner out of this round is going to go to the Real Techniques. This brush also was recently mentioned in a favorites video of mine, and I just can't stop using it. I always travel with this brush. I can use it for loose powder, I can use it for pressed powder, I can use it to dust away powder. Like if I've used a loose powder and I want to dust away any excess, this is what I use it for. I think it's an awesome brush, and I would highly recommend it. I do still really like the Stilazzi. It's actually what I did use today to apply my loose powder. I am an affiliate with Stilazzi. Again, my coupon code is Samantha for 25% off your order. They just recently upped my code with them. They do have some nice brushes, and you'll see some mentioned throughout here, but this round has to go to the Real Techniques. I love this brush, and it goes everywhere with me. Alrighty, for powder, I'm not someone who always powders my face, but sometimes, you know, depending on the foundation that I've used, just kind of how my skin is at that moment, the conditions, what I'm doing, sometimes I will go ahead and powder my whole face. Again, I can use a sponge for this, but there are there are also some brushes that I do like to use. So I have in here, this is from Colourpop. This is the F1 brush. And then this one here is from Morphe. This is the E3. So these are not very similar to one another. Colourpop is just kind of like this domed, kind of a fluffier brush here. And then the Morphe E3 kind of comes more to this pointed, like tapered tip here. Kind of like a tulip shaped brush, maybe I would say. So this one was kind of a hard choice for me, but I'm actually gonna have to give it to the Morphe E3. I have been using the E3 for years now. I purchased it a very long time ago. I think it was on a recommendation from Jaclyn Hill, you guessed it. And I've been really, really impressed with this one. Not all Morphe brushes super impress me, but especially I think the ones from the Elite line, the ones that start with an E, they hold up really well through a lot of different washes, and they do feel nice and soft on the face. This one I do think is nice and soft. This one I can use for a variety of reasons. You know, I can use it to apply powder all over. I can use it to dust away any sort of like baking, setting powder, anything like that. I think there's a lot of different uses you can do with this brush, so I really do enjoy this one from Morphe. Again, I do like the Colourpop. I'm a little bit newer to this one, but it's really nice too. You know, it's just kind of a fluffier brush. I can use it to apply the powder all over, but in this category, the winner is going to be the Morphe. I wanted to mention this brush because I just really enjoy it and I would recommend it. I actually don't really have any other contenders to go along with it, but you know, there's sometimes when I do all of my face makeup and then I just want to make sure everything looks nice and blended in. Maybe I went too heavy on my bronzer or my blush and I want to kind of blend it out. That is when I will use this brush here. This is from Stilazzi. This is the dual fiber large powder, the S306. This is one of my only dual fibers in my collection. I don't know why that is, and I feel like I do need some more, but I get a lot of use out of this one, again, just for like blending out if I've gone too heavy, if I just want to make sure my makeup looks nice and blended. This is a brush that I reach for so often. This goes in my travel makeup bag almost every single time because you don't want to look too harsh or have harsh lines, or you've gone too much if you're out traveling and you don't know what to do. This brush is fantastic for that. So I wanted to mention this one just because it's a favorite, so I thought I'd sneak it in there, but that one from Stilazzi I do quite enjoy. And then moving over to contour, so two contour brushes that I want to mention. This one here is from Sigma. This is the Extreme Structure Contour, the F04. And then also another one from the Moda Metallics line. This is, I believe, called the Contour Brush. Yes, it is. So again, not super similar to one another. Sigma is definitely a lot thinner and just kind of more precise, if you will, and then the Moda brush is a little bit more on the thicker side, but it still kind of comes to that a little bit of a tapered tip there. I really do like both of these brushes. This one was a hard one for me too, but I feel like I reach for the Moda Metallics even more. When I'm traveling a lot, I bring this brush. I really like the Moda Metallics line. I've recommended their brushes so often. In a lot of brush favorites videos, you see a lot from their line. I've recommended this brush for years, and I just think that it's really fabulous. I do also really like this one from Sigma. You know, it's nice for even more precise contour, even though I think this one from Moda does a really good job. But if I want something super precise, nose contour, things like that, I can use this one from Sigma. I definitely recommend Sigma brushes. I've been an affiliate with them for a long time. Again, discount code is just Samantha. So I definitely recommend a lot of Sigma brushes. They hold up so well. They have warranties on them, which is awesome. But the winner for the contour category is going to Moda. So bronzing is definitely one of my favorite makeup steps. I'm super into bronzer right now and trying out new bronzers. And I feel like it is evidenced because I have 4 favorite bronzer brushes. I was like, really? You can't even cut it down to like 3? I was like, no, I want to mention all of these because I really enjoy them, and I would recommend all, you know, all of these brushes that I'm mentioning. I recommend all of them. I will have them linked down below, all of that good stuff. But I'm just trying to choose the one that I would keep, and that's not even necessarily like which one's my favorite. It's like which one would I keep in the collection. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of hard. Okay, but for my bronzer brushes, so this one is another one from the Moda Metallics line. This is actually a buffer brush, but I use it for bronzer and I quite enjoy it. I use this one a lot if I have a bronzer that's maybe like not quite as pigmented, or I know that I need to build up a little bit more because it is a little bit more on the dense side. I feel like I can really pick up a lot of product with it, and I kind of stamp it right along where I want to put my bronzer, and then I will blend it out, and I think that it's beautiful. This one is a bit of a newer brush to me, again from that Real Techniques set. I highly recommend that set. This is the 400 or the blush brush. Again, even if you buy something that says it's a blush brush, a bronzer brush, a contour brush, whatever it may be, you can use it for whatever reason you want it to. I actually really do like this one as a bronzer brush. It is super, super soft, and I just think it applies bronzer so well. This one is nice where if I have one that's maybe a little bit more pigmented, I feel like it kind of gets diffused a little bit with this one. So I've been loving that one. This is one of my OGs. This is from Sigma. This is the large powder F30. So again, a powder brush. I use it for bronzer and I think that it's beautiful. This is just kind of like, I don't feel like I really need a specific bronzer for this one. I just think it works well with all of them, which I appreciate. This one is a travel size brush. I do have the regular F30 also, but honestly, I go for this one even more. I don't know why. It has a pretty blue handle. Well, it has a pretty blue handle. It does come traveling with me quite a bit since it is a smaller and kind of just like easier to take with me. But that is the F30. And then the last one here is from Morphe. This is the R2. Again, this was a purchase from Jaclyn Hill's recommendation. This is like my Big Daddy bronzer brush. It is quite large. This is when I don't feel like I need to be as precise with my bronzer. Maybe I'm using one that I'm not really worried that it's going to be like super pigmented on me. Like, I really enjoy like natural bronzers and I feel like this is a good one with the natural ones because it's like so fast to apply the bronzer, and if I'm not really worried about getting like too much everywhere, I'm just like going ham with this one, like bronzer all over my face, you know? Anyone else do that? Out of all four of these brushes, if I could only keep one, you might have guessed it by when I was just kind of giving my descriptions of these, it's going to be the Sigma brush. The Moda brush is just like a little bit too small, a little bit too precise, can't use it with all of my bronzers. The Morphe is a little bit too big, again, can't use it with all of my bronzers. The Real Techniques one is really beautiful, but I'm gonna have to give it to my Sigma F30. I've been using this brush for years for bronzer. I've recommended it so many times, and again, I don't need a specific bronzer to use this brush for. Natural bronzers, you know, overly pigmented bronzers, not pigmented enough bronzers, whatever it may be, I can use this brush with, and I just think it's beautiful. So if I could only keep one, it's going to be the Sigma F30. For blush, I do have two favorite blush brushes. So this one here is from Morphe. This is the E4. This one here is from Sigma. This is the large angled contour, the F40. So I definitely really enjoy for my blush brushes to kind of have this angle to it. I don't really know why. I couldn't explain that to you, but obviously that's what I enjoy for my blush brushes. The Morphe E4 I've been using for years. I have multiples of this brush. I can't remember how many, maybe like 2 or 3. Really enjoy it, you know, really recommend. Again, from that Morphe Elite line, holds up really well, nice and soft. The Sigma F40, I again have recommended for years. I think I have like 4 of these. It's definitely, I mean, these are both 2 of my favorite blush brushes, of course, but when it comes to which one could I keep, I'm gonna have to go with the Sigma once again. I've just been using this one for such a long time, and I also do feel like it's just like a touch firmer than the Morphe one. The Morphe is just a little bit looser, and so I feel like I can get more use out of this one from Sigma. So if I'm only keeping one, I think that it would be this one. I think that it would just work well for more, like a more wide range of blushes, if that makes sense. I've also, like in a pinch, I've used this for like the Colourpop blushes, the Super Shock blushes, which it's a little bit harder to pick up. You know, a lot of people recommend to use your fingers or a duo fiber, but I've used this in a pinch. This one with Morphe, I don't really get anything out of it because it's just, again, it's a little bit too loose. So I feel like the Sigma one would be a better option. So blush brush is going to go to the Sigma F40. Okay, we've now gotten into highlight brushes, and I actually narrowed this down to 2, which I was a little bit surprised at, because when I've recommended highlight brushes in the past, thinking about like my past you know, favorite brushes videos, I've had like 4 and 5 highlight brushes that I'm recommending. But when I really pulled out my highlight brushes and was looking at them, there was 2 very clear favorites out of those. So we have the Sigma F03, the high cheekbone highlighter, and also from the Moda Metallics line, this is the Highlight and Glow brush. These again have a very similar style to them. The Sigma one just has more oomph to it. It's a little bit bigger. The one from Moda is again a little bit on the thinner side, and you just don't have like as many bristles with this one. This was also extremely hard for me to choose between these 2 because I love them both. I do have multiples, like I've repurchased several of the Sigma F03 because I just think it's fantastic. But I was kind of like, you know, it's not really your favorite, so which one would you pick if you only had to choose one? but I really did have to go with the Sigma. This has been like my holy grail highlighter brush since I first started using it several years ago. I've recommended it so many times. I've repurchased to have more in my collection, and I just think that it's such a bomb highlight brush. The Moda one is seriously just as good, and Moda is less expensive than Sigma, which is fantastic. So again, I'm definitely recommending both of these, but I just really love my Sigma. Can't imagine not having this in my collection. Moving over to blending brushes for the eyes. So we're moving into the eye brushes now. Honestly, there's one very clear winner to me, but I thought I would include two contenders. So from Bdellium Tools, this is the 785 tapered blending, and from Sigma, this is the tapered blending, the E40. The winner to me is from Bdellium Tools. You see me use this in almost every single like get ready with me or trying to makeup video. I'm almost always saying I'm going in with the 785 tapered blending from Bdellium Tools. This is just my #1 blending brush. I don't go anywhere without it. I keep saying that I need to repurchase this one because I do have to clean this all of the time, and it's just really handy when you use a brush, especially like an eye brush that you're getting so much pigment on and different colored pigments. It's just really nice to have multiples of those, and I do have multiples of the E40. I've repurchased the E40, but the Bdellium Tools just really takes the cake for me. Again, really similar on these two brushes, but the Bdellium Tools just kind of flares out a little bit more, and it's incredibly soft. It is so easy to come in with that first shadow and just diffuse the eyeshadow into the crease. You can use it to build it up. It's just such a beautiful brush. I highly recommend this one from Bdellium Tools. Again, I do love my Sigma E40. This has been a ride or die for me for a very long time, but the Bdellium Tools, if I could only keep one, this is my clear winner. I also have a lot of feelings about flat shader brushes because I had 4 to choose from, and it's kind of hard because, you know, those are kind of bigger blending brushes. You know, I have some smaller ones too. With flat shaders, there's a few different options also, but I just tried to break it down the best that I could. And, you know, it's not like super serious here, it's just makeup, so like it's fun. But I have 4 different flat shaders to recommend from you, and honestly these are all from Sigma. They just have friggin' I mean, they have bomb brushes all around, but for whatever reason I can't find flat shaders that I love as much as I do the ones from Sigma Beauty. So we have the cream color E58, we also have the eye shading, which is the E55. Then we have the concealer brush, which is the F70, which again, I use for eyeshadow because long hair don't care. I also have the shader lid, the E56. This is seriously just like, this is just like so rude to make me pick one. You can see that they're all fairly similar to one another, but I'm like, okay, if I really had to just like choose just one, which would it be if I could only use one for flat shader for like the rest of infinity? Terribly rude question, but my choice was the cream color, the E58. Whatever it is about this one, I just love this brush for, you know, just kind of like regular powder eyeshadows, for shadows that have more of a creamy texture to them, for shimmery shades, for foiled shadows. No matter what it is, the E58 just applies them so well. And I just love this brush. It's my favorite out of these, and like I said, it doesn't necessarily have to be my favorite. It's just the one that I would keep. But this is a favorite, and it's the one that I would want to keep. Again, if my friend stole this from me, actually, you know what? I'm probably gonna have to go ahead and defriend you on Facebook if you did that, because that's cold. But the winner out of these 4 lovely Sigma brushes that I do recommend all of them is the E58. I did also want to include a brush for the lower lash line because that's something that I do pretty much every single day, and I feel like it's just very important. So out of here I have the Sigma pencil brush. This is the E30, and then also from Morphe, this is the M507. So again, very similar brushes in here, just kind of smaller detail brushes, pencil brushes. I do really enjoy both of these, but again, this is kind of a clear winner for me. This is the Sigma E30. I really enjoy this pencil brush. I've repurchased multiple pencil brushes. I can remember first kind of starting to learn how to do makeup. I never did lower lash shadow. I would use my eyeliner and create such a stark line under my lashes. That is what I did for the longest time. I didn't blend anything out. It was just like nice and harsh. It was usually blue because I was really into blue eyeliner. That's what I did. And once I started watching YouTube tutorials and I was seeing people blend out that shadow, I thought it was so beautiful. But for a long time, like, I had a blending brush. Honestly, it was probably the Sigma E40 because this was one of my first like real kind of eye brush purchases, and I was trying to use this and I was just like looking crazy. I'm like, what am I doing wrong? And I kept hearing people say a pencil brush, a pencil brush, a pencil brush, and I was like, what? Okay, I need to get a pencil brush. So I think that I probably purchased the Sigma E30 first, but I have tried the M507. This one from Morphe I do like because it's not as once again, dense as the Sigma one. Like the Sigma is just a little bit firm and it kind of points a little bit more precisely than the Morphe. So I like it if I'm really trying to diffuse it out. A lot of times I'll reach in for the Morphe because it's just easier for me to do. But this one is also a little bit more on the scratchy side, and so sometimes, especially getting so close to the eyes, it can kind of irritate my eyes. So definitely the Sigma E30, but you can diffuse out with this one too. It just takes a little bit more time, but you can also get more precise because sometimes I don't want super diffused or super smoky. I want more precise. So again, it would have to go for the Sigma because I think that I would be able to get more uses out of this one. So pencil brush, going to be the Sigma E30. And then we have the final category. I wanted to include like an even smaller detail brush, what I would use for like an inner corner highlight and also a brow bone highlight. I have 3 little brushes here that I would recommend. So we have from Sigma, we actually have 2 different actual lip brushes. So from Sigma, this is the detailed lip, the L04. Also from the Moda Metallics line, this is their lip brush. And then from Morphe, this is the E36. So these are all quite tiny brushes. The Sigma is definitely the smallest. The Moda is a little bit more on the flat side, and then the Morphe kind of has more of that pointed tip to it. I really do enjoy all 3 of these brushes. Again, I would recommend all of them, but my favorite is the Morphe E36. I have been using the E36 again for years. I've been recommending it in so many of my favorites videos. I just go back to it and go back to it and go back to it. I have repurchased the Morphe E36 brush, and I just use it so often. So easy to use for inner corner, for brow bone highlight. I just think it's fantastic. There are, you know, you definitely could use a pencil brush for this too, but something about it, like I never not travel with the Morphe E36. I just think that it's bomb and I love it. So out of that, Morphe is going to win that round, but after that, that's going to wrap it up for today's video. I hope that you guys enjoyed this video or maybe found it helpful or entertaining in some way. Again, I'll have Mel's video linked down below. Thank you to her and her subscriber for such a fun idea because I do love talking about makeup brushes, and this was just kind of like a little spin on my favorites. Again, everything will be linked down below. My affiliate codes are down there in case you're interested in purchasing any of these. Let me know your thoughts, of course, on the brushes that I mentioned and what are some brushes that you would keep if you could only keep one in certain categories. And as always, if you guys did enjoy this video, I hope that you'll give it a thumbs up. I hope that you'll also consider subscribing before you go, and I'll catch you guys in tomorrow's video.